As one of the best-selling games on the Nintendo Entertainment System and an essential part of Mario's history, did you know that Super Mario Bros. 2 wasn't actually even meant to be a Mario game? I can still remember those long ago days as just a cute wee little Tiggles, sprawled out blasting through NES games, armed with nothing but some snacks and a smile. Life was awesome. But even that very young version of myself remembers feeling like something was off about Super Mario Bros. 2. Not like it was bad necessarily, just different. Like it didn't fit in with the first or third games. Thanks to hindsight and the power of the internet though, I can finally understand why Super Mario Bros. 2 made me feel that way. After the massive success of the original Super Mario Bros., Nintendo was hunting for a way to follow the behemoth with another smash hit. And with the game being so insanely popular that the strategy guide was one of the best-selling books of 1985, I'm sure they were feeling plenty of pressure. What they first came up with was less of a sequel and was more of an expansion to Super Mario Bros. That they called Versus Super Mario Bros. The game looked and handled almost identically to Super Mario Bros., but was much more difficult with tougher platforming, weather effects that could affect the distance of your jumps, and mushrooms that would kill the player on pickup. It was about a year later, using many of the levels they had come up with from Versus Super Mario Bros., that they officially released Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan on the Famicom Disk System, which was a console released only in Japan that used what they called disc cards. Just basically think floppy disks. They were less expensive to manufacture, and they had more storage capacity over the expensive cartridges that the NES used. Unfortunately though, with the feedback from their American testers being that the game was too hard, that it wasn't much fun, they decided not to port Super Mario Bros. 2 to America. I think a big part of this decision was based on the fact that this was only a couple of years past the great video game crash of the early 1980s, when gaming almost died. Afraid to yet again release another sequel to a hit game that sorely disappointed its fans was not something that Nintendo wanted to do. Sadly though, this decision left Nintendo in a position that they had no sequel to their flagship and most popular game for the US market. Afraid to let Mario fade into obscurity, they began looking for options to getting another Mario game into players' hands in a quick fashion. It was at this point that they had looked to another title that had recently been developed by many of the team members that had worked on Mario, called Doki Doki Panic, an Arabic-themed game that had been developed for a summer festival hosted by Fuji Television. Thinking the game would be very fun for an American audience, Nintendo decided to have Kensuke Tanabe and his team convert the game into a Mario title. So they replaced the 4 Arabic characters with Mario-themed ones, namely Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad. They also changed some of the assets to match a more Mario aesthetic and added the ability for the character to sprint, something you couldn't actually do in Doki Doki Panic. Even though Super Mario Bros. 2 is basically a mirror copy of Doki Doki Panic, it gave so many things to the Mario franchise that would carry on throughout the series, such as Bob-ombs, Shy Guy, Birdie, and Pokey. It was also the first game to differentiate Mario and Luigi's looks and have Princess Peach and Toad as playable characters. Initially, Nintendo pretty much refused to acknowledge the fact that Super Mario 2 was a copy of another game, even though some players picked up on it pretty quickly. For the most part though, it went unnoticed by most, probably because it released in the days before social media was really a thing to spread knowledge like hyper fast. But later, in a small portion of a strategy guide, Nintendo would officially admit that the game was originally Doki Doki Panic. Interested in learning 5 darker facts about Mario? Check out my next video on screen, and thanks for watching.